Good evening. Again, my name is Caleb, and I just want to take a few minutes to talk about my research paper on pro-slavery Christianity in the antebellum South. The question I am attempting to answer is, how was pro-slavery Christianity conceptualized, and what impact did religion have on the Confederate States' justification for the Civil War? My general working thesis is the Second Great Awakening created an environment for social reform that pushed abolition in the North and further sectionalized the South, creating division amongst religious communities, which resulted ultimately in the conceptualization of pro-slavery Christianity, as one might call it. The Confederate States capitalized on the dominance of religion over Southern culture, therefore using it to turn this American Civil War into a type of holy war in the eyes of the Southerners. The Confederate States of America was founded as a Christian nation, as they say, and during the Civil War, many of its citizens believed that they would win the war because they were in God's favor. Southern ministers and congregations would preach messages in support of slavery throughout the latter decades of the antebellum time period. The Union believed that slavery was against the Bible and attempted major social reform. The Second Great Awakening was a period of ideological revolution inside the Protestant community, starting in the late 18th century and ending just before the Civil War. The Protestants embraced ideas of evangelicalism, spiritualism, and a type of practical Arminianism. This movement swept through the United States with overwhelming success, but biblical interpretations on key issues such as slavery sectionalized the nation. The North and South were already at odds over the issues of state sovereignty, policy decisions, economics, and even slavery, and the Christian community grew as a result of the Second Great Awakening, but ended up seeing division during the Civil War, or before the Civil War. Northern congregations pushed for abolition and recognized the moral controversy that was institutionalized slavery. However, Southern congregations believed that slavery was an opportunity for slaveholders to convert their slaves from pagan religions that they would have picked up in Africa to whatever form of Christianity they wanted to employ on their plantations. Justifications over slavery differed from individual to individual, congregation to congregation, and even differed amongst denominations. The antebellum period saw theological developments within the Protestant community that not only emphasized evangelism, but also free will, which is Arminianism, which sparked a social movement that displayed individual freedom at the forefront of the Southern thought. The emphasis of individualism created a nationalistic identity within the South that pushed Southerners towards secession, and religion became the catalyst that kind of ignited the Civil War. In order to accurately conduct my research, I need to find the connections between Second Great Awakening, pro-slavery Christianity, and the Southern identity during the Civil War. And I'm researching all areas. I'm attempting to answer a couple questions. Was the religious community supportive of the secession and eventually Civil War? Did the denominations differ in their view of secession, slavery, and politics? Who were the most influential leaders of the time? And did religion impact policy decisions on Southern political leaders? These are some of the questions that need to be investigated in order to understand the impact that the Second Great Awakening had on the antebellum South, the creation of pro-slavery Christianity, and the Southern view of the war. I'm going to use primary sources such as the Constitution, the Confederacy, writings of important religious and political leaders of the time, speeches, sermons of ministers, and stuff like that in order to find a connection between the political side of the argument and the religious side of the argument. Some of the difficulties I'll probably run into is the availability of primary sources because it is the Confederate States of America, and a lot of that documentation was destroyed after the Civil War, and the availability of sermons and messages of the Southern ministers. But other than that, I'm really looking forward to researching this topic area, and it's something that I think is going to be very interesting.